Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where as promised we are nearing the staging event here. I did slightly delay this maneuver from the periapsis here to about here to better encircle the orbit of Moho. But here we are about ready for that staging event. In fact, it's going to be happening... not quite yet. Okay. Right about... now. Beautiful. So there we go. We've got that staging event. These guys are out of here. We've already burned out all 4 of those tanks, and we're going to get our last little bit of burn going here. We're currently passing the orbit of the Life Refueler, which is, of course, in its new home as a communication satellite, although we're not actually bouncing any communications data off of it. We're connecting directly back to Kerbin, which is, you know, mildly exciting, but there we go. We're going to warp forward here. 25 more seconds of burn time. 10 seconds. Okay. So let's just get into position here. That's probably close enough. Yeah, we'll call that good. Okay, so now we need to find ourselves an encounter. And where would that end up being? Not here, I can tell you that. We may end up needing to wait in orbit, which is fine. Of course, our timing is probably not, you know, perfect. This is not the direction I wanted to go. Okay, so this is only about 400 meters per second to get us, honestly, overshooting. We want to be about here, and let's add in... this might actually be multiple orbits. Okay. Well, that's interesting timing. Okay, let's take these orbits out of here for the time being, and let's see what it would look like over on this side. Target position would be here, but where would we be at that point? Oh, we'd be here. Okay. Noted. So we can do something that's more energetic, right? We could just angle for something, you know, like this. There's no point in doing that, in my opinion. We are far, far, far better off looking for a decently timed encounter here. So if we were to do this around here-ish, timing-wise, man, that definitely gets closer together. That's a lot of orbits. Luckily, this close into Kerbal, we are going to have relatively quick orbits. Relatively. Compared to what they might be otherwise. So I want to actually, hang on a moment. Do we want another orbit here? I kind of don't. If we were to bring this in here, this is looking good. Okay, that's really close to an encounter, but this thing keeps fluctuating all over the place. Like, that's really, really close right there. So maybe we need to toss in a wee bit of radial. Okay. That's an encounter. Cool. What kind of an encounter is it? Oh, wow, that's actually a really solid encounter. I like it. So we want to dial this in a little bit. Oh, that's sensitive. Okay. Oh, that's really, really sensitive. Okay, we're just going to very carefully bring this in just a bit. 110. Okay, it likes to appear and disappear on us. This may or may not be a real encounter. But I want to dial this into 50 kilometers. I would like to get a little bit more equatorial, but it doesn't have to be. I think we're fine as is. So this is 292 meters per second, and this should not be a very big braking burn. We're nearly already in orbit there. So that looks really, really solid there. Now, I want to warp forward a little bit and see if this encounter breaks. It looks like it's not currently breaking. Okay. Let's get aligned to the node. And we're going to have a pretty hefty warp period here. No doubt about that. Let's warp in like this and make sure it's not broken. Okay, it's not breaking thus far. So far, so good. So we're going to have to take, like, a couple of orbits here, right? There's no doubt about that. And this is going to be a lengthy warp, so I'm going to cut it out, and I will be right back near the end of this warp. See you guys in a bit. Okay, so here we are, almost done with the warp. We'll be in position for this burn very shortly. So far, it still looks like this is going to be 50 kilometers in the final orbit. So we're going to warp forward just that wee bit further. 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and mark. Cool. It's going to be about a 31-second burn, and we're going to see if this actually ends up working. Honestly, with the amount of issues we've had with our orbits changing on us while warping, we'll see. We'll see. About 10 more seconds left in this burn, and I'm just keeping an eye on this. The final trajectory is what we care about, not hitting this exactly correctly. Okay. It's very flickery. Very flickery. And we can see here this is a little too low. I don't know how real it is. I'm going to warp here. It's still flickering. Okay. I don't know about this. This is very suspicious. I'm going to get rid of the maneuver here. The game is very confused right now. Okay, it can't decide whether we have an encounter or not. But if we do have an encounter, it's apparently 35 kilometers, which is acceptable. So I guess we'll warp forward and see if we've got one. We know that the encounter is going to be out over here. So I'm going to warp... Well, is it? It's going to be in 168 days. This is in 54 days. Okay, so the game is very confused right now. We're going to warp forward and see what happens. This might be after an orbit. Maybe that's the problem here. I think that's the problem. It couldn't decide whether to show this orbit or next orbit. So if we warp here, then this should be next orbit that we have this encounter. And then it should solidify. Yes. Okay. Now we have a solid encounter now that it's figured out which orbit this is on. Fantastic. So we're just going to bring this on in. We're going to brake and circularize this. We don't need to be in this exact orbit, but we may as well. That's going to be 368 meters per second. That's about a little over 10% of what we've got left in this tank. That should be more than fine. We're going to align to this node. That was only mildly awkward, but that is because our encounter was actually an orbit later than I thought it was, which is fine. I don't care about that. That's completely okay. So we're going to position for this, and we are, at this point, going to want to warp in to about here. So let's warp on forward. We're going to take one more trip around the sun here. And of course, we're going to do a little bit of work while in orbit here. We'll gather what data we can. I don't know what data we actually need, but all we really need to do is an orbital spacewalk here. Which is fine. So we're on our way around here. We should be able to almost see Moho over towards the sun, I think. I don't know where it's at right now. We should be in its sphere of influence. It should actually be a little bit below us, right? Very slightly below us. Okay. Well, we can definitely warp on forward to this burn. Oh, there it is. Hi, Moho. Look at you just lurking there in the middle of, you know, very obviously looming. Cool. So we're going to get some in-space low here. This is what, 35 kilometers? And yeah, that looks super, super safe. So that should be fine. In we come at about 1,000 meters per second. Hi, Moho. We do have some of this data, but we're definitely going to grab this and bring it all back. That will be phenomenal. We're going to commence our braking burn here in about 30 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and mark. Beautiful. So about a 40-second burn here. We'll physics warp that forward. We're now officially in orbit. Cool. We'll just get that last little bit of burn in there a little bit more carefully. There we go. 0.0 meters per second. Kill rot. And we're in a roughly circular orbit at about 35 kilometers. So we're in space near, and we can definitely grab all of this data. We will certainly do so. So we grab all of that data that we can right now. Go on, material study. I thought I clicked on you, but apparently not. We'll definitely grab that, and we will collect all of that data, moving it straight on up. Fantastic. We can grab this. We have the gravity scan for the Midlands. Okay. We're going to have Dunhat EVA here. We're going to grab an EVA report near the minor craters. Cool. We'll collect the minor craters gravity scan as well. And Midlands EVA report. Grab that. Phenomenal. We're going to need to reset our experiments down here, but for right now, I think it's fine. We can work on that. We can hop out, and we'll let go here. Cool. So we're going to restore the Science Junior. We're going to, of course, restore the Mystery Goo containment unit as well. We'll grab our Highlands report. We'll conduct our material study and observe the Mystery Goo here. We'll keep those experiments. We'll collect that data and restore, and collect... Oh, hello. Collect that data and restore. This can now be closed. And I want to conduct the material study again. But I guess we can do that once we're in. So we grab on here. We keep that experiment. We want to grab our Mystery Goo observation. There we go. We'll grab our gravity scan for the Highlands, since we didn't have that one. And we'll collect all of that data for now. Okay, let's go ahead and add in a maneuver here as a timer, and we're just going to warp around and grab any data that we may be missing on this trajectory. We're just going to do one orbit. Let's see, Highlands. Yeah, that's all fine. There's a lot of Highlands here. Midlands we've got. I saw Lowlands tick in there very quickly. Minor Crater, Highland, Midland, Western Lowlands. We'll grab our gravity scan. Dunhat will EVA and grab the EVA report. There we go. And we'll collect all of that data. Phenomenal. What else do we have on this trajectory here? Continuing forward, for now at 10x. We may bump that up. And actually, we can stop the time warp. That'll be okay. Midlands, we're good. Highlands, we're good. Yep, Highlands are still good. Midlands are still good. That's Highlands. Minor craters. Midlands. Highlands. Yep, these are all fine. We're about halfway through our orbit here. And of course, we did complete our spacewalk as well. So that's absolutely wonderful. Anything else to grab here as long as we're here? Well, we'll find out within the next 13 minutes. Phenomenal. About 10 minutes now. Oh, Eastern Southern Lowlands. Hello. Grab that. Beautiful. I almost missed it. Okay, we've got Midlands, Highlands. Lots of Midlands and Highlands here. No doubt about that. And I think from here, we're probably not going to get anything else. We'll just go until the timer expires here. I'm reasonably certain that we're not, though. We've already been through this area. Okay, yep, we're good. Now, there's probably a biome or two that we could get if we stayed here a really long time and kept orbiting with it spinning underneath us. That said, it's tidally locked, so it's going to take a while. At this point, we want to burn this direction, right? Away from the sun. The sun is over there, so we want to burn about here. And we want to burn prograde, which takes the apoapsis towards the sun, but counterintuitively, of course, that will push our ultimate apoapsis away from the sun. Like so. Beautiful. So we're going to push back out. And we want to push this out up towards Kerbin. Something along the lines of this, although I want to see where is Kerbin. Obviously, we're pretty far below it, right? So if we were to put in an inclination change here, it's going to be really awkward. But if we were to do this, where is Kerbin at this time? And also, what's our descending node here? Apparently, I can't mouse over that. That's exciting. Okay, I don't know what that is, but we can just align it visually here. So obviously we don't want to do this, right? We just want to get this aligned in... This is not the time to do it. There's no doubt about that. So in that case, the time to do it... Well, we're just going to get rid of all of that. Awkward inclination is awkward. So realistically, what we want to do is we want to bring this guy back to be about here-ish. And then we'd want to change our ascending node. So I want to see how much delta V this is going to cost overall if we were to do this. We may ask MechJeb to see what it thinks about this. It may well have a better solution for us. So the inclination change would be another 1,400 meters per second. And then if we were to push this guy out, right? Actually, that timing isn't bad. We would need to go this direction, and that's quite a lot of DV in the radial direction. Like, yeah, that's another 1,800. We've got 4,600, right? So this right here is about 4,000. So then we'd have about 600. We're going to need to use aero braking. Let's ask MechJeb what it thinks. So if MechJeb were to look to do in the maneuver planner, if you were to look to do an advanced transfer to another planet, it's currently computing. Okay, so if we were to look to do a lowest delta V, include capture burn, that's 5,724. The ASAP would be 14.44 kilometers per second. Okay, that's not amazing. Don't include the capture burn, but set the periapsis to be about 30 kilometers here. Okay. So if the periapsis is 30 kilometers, that means we get some aero capture, and then we can do a radial retrograde on the way in. Something like this. That would be departing in about 6 months. Okay, not bad. So if we were to create this node, we would do something kind of like that. So that's about 2,000 delta V for the transfer, right? And then when we come in, we're going to be going quite fast. That's not 30 kilometers, that is 20 kilometers. We could certainly modify this a little bit. So if we were to... Okay, that's doing a lot. That's doing a whole lot. Let's try recreating this node. And let's try adjusting this direction. Yes, that's more like it. So that's 30 kilometers there. Assuming that MechJeb is right about this, which this is only a 3-minute burn, it, I think, should be relatively right. Assuming MechJeb is right about this, this is a good transfer. We can do a radial retrograde sometime around here. And we would have, how much for that? About 2,600? Why did it put it there? Wait, what? As I move this around, that's moving this. What? I guess maybe that's why this is at 18 kilometers? Maybe. That's really strange. We'll add a maneuver here. That bumps it up to 42 with no delta V. But then we would want to do like a retrograde burn here, right? How much delta V is that? That's 2,600, and that's easily a capture. Okay, so we're not going to have this node here. We're going to remove this node, and we're just going to tell MechJeb, create and execute this. I hope it doesn't fail. This is going to be real interesting. So we're time warping right now. We don't need to cancel the time warp. And MechJeb is just going to do this 50x time warp, which is very, very slow, right? I'm going to accelerate that up to 1000x time. Boy, even that is barely moving on that start burn. We're going to go to 10,000x time. We're going to go to 100,000x time. And that's... I'm going to zoom out. That's kind of horrible looking. Okay. We'll just see how MechJeb handles this. It's going to be very interesting. Of course, we don't have a pilot on board this, so it really does make sense to use MechJeb here, in my opinion. So we're going to take it back down to 50x time fairly soon. Actually, MechJeb should handle that. It should. We'll see if it does. Yep, it's automatically reducing it there. Reduces it further. Cool. Now it's going to look to get realigned to the node. And we can see here that this is at still 19 kilometers. But I guess that's okay. This is going to be very interesting to see how this gets handled. I know our last time using MechJeb, it didn't go all that well. We'll see. We'll see. This should get us in a reasonable-ish situation. So assuming MechJeb isn't lying to us, I think that this is a absolutely fine return. But it might be lying to us. We'll see. We've got about 3 seconds here. The burn should be commencing soon. We're definitely waiting past the burn time here, but now the burn is going. So I'm going to physics warp through the burn here. And our transit duration is quite short here, 84 days. That's not bad. But we're coming in fast. We'll have some delta V left over for it, including in this tank. So we're going to have some nuclear engine DV here, which is good to know. And we're just going to let MechJeb do this as best it can. I'm going to come out of the physics warp fairly soon here. But I can't help but notice this still isn't a 30-kilometer periapsis. It's not quite what we asked for, but it would get the job done. So 30 seconds on the burn time here. Okay, coming out of the physics warp. And let's see what we've got. About 50 meters per second to go. We do see the encounter coming in here. Okay, that's giving us a moon encounter. So I can't help but notice it's not quite what we asked for. I still want this open for the moment. So that 0.2 meters per second, that puts us here. Okay. So it's not quite what we asked for, but it's close. So I think that what we need to do here is make a slight modification to this. So at this point, I want to hop back over to Moho. I want to add a maneuver about here, actually a little further in the future, about 8 minutes. We'll add a maneuver there. And with that maneuver open, I want to head back in and focus on Kerbin. There we go. Maneuver is open, and we're going to head in here. So I want to ever so slightly tweak this directionality. Okay. Bringing this up a bit here. We still need to bring it in, right? So we just need to make minor tweaks to this. A small corrective burn. I'm still targeting about 30 kilometers for the apoapsis. That is more like what we're going for. MechJeb got us most of the way there, but we still need this 35.2 meters per second of corrective burn. Okay, that's fine. Not a real problem at this moment. The burn is going to be starting up in about 7 minutes, and that's fine. So we're going to warp on over to that. We definitely don't need this moon encounter. There's certainly no doubt about that one. And let's warp on forward to this. 3, 2, 1. There we go. We're going to continue to warp on manually a little bit. 20 seconds. 10 and 3, 2, 1, 0 and mark. Okay. Getting that last 3 meters per second done here. 0.6 meters per second. How are we doing? 25 kilometers. We'll take it. That'll do. So sometime around here is probably when we want to do our radial retrograde burn. So we're going to toss in a retrograde burn, but we're going to have to keep this at about 30 kilometers, right? So this is going to be, we have 2582 meters per second to do this. That's quite a bit to play with. Okay. So it's going to end up being, we want to burn off basically all of this fuel, right? That is burning off more than we have access to. So we're going to need to back off a little bit. We have access to this, which would certainly bring us back. Still a little bit quick. We've got about 20 meters per second that we can toss in there. And 2585, yeah, this is now more than we had access to. So we have 2582. So about that. That's what we can do. I mean, that gives us a capture, no doubt about that, assuming that we're not being lied to by this maneuver. Let's see. We're going to warp forward here a bit. That looks like it's staying put. Beautiful. We'll align for the node. And yeah, we can see that this is like fluctuating back and forth, floating point issues and all that. That's fine. Let's warp here. We can't auto warp that far. Okay. Let's warp to here and verify. Okay, we are back. I just had an interesting experience, as in both KSP and OBS crashed at the same time, so I'm actually going to have to stitch this together in editing. That's going to be exciting, but that's neither here nor there. So at this point, we're back at the quick save that I made before we started our warp here. Okay, sounds good. We had both crash, and then when I restarted it, the atmosphere for Kerbin wasn't loading, so that was exciting. I think at this point, let's see, I don't know what altitude this is going to be at, but that should be reasonably fine. Now, we cannot auto-warp to here. Let's just get lined up for this node. There we go. And let's position for this burn. Let's go. Hopefully we don't crash this time. That was exciting. I've never had both the game and OBS crash before. Luckily, I looked at the footage. I think that none of it was corrupted. So if everything was clean up until here, it should be good to go. Fingers crossed. There's Kerbin. Hi, Kerbin. We're going to be hopping into the Kerbin sphere of influence here, and we are cruising. Look at that orbital speed. We're definitely going to need to slow down, and I think slowing down early here is good. We want to keep burning outside of the atmosphere. So we're just going to physics warp on forward here. And we're going to commence this burn, well, when it says to here. 10 seconds. 5. Now. Burn commenced. And we're just going to park here, burn out the remaining nuclear fuel, and we can see our speed slowing down dramatically. Looks good. and there we go. Fantastic. So we're already past where we had the crash, so that's absolutely great. Looks like we're not going to crash this time. I want to probably retract our solar panels and our antenna. We're going to be hitting atmosphere relatively soon here. Now you can see that our periapsis height is quite high. As long as we're captured, that's good. As long as we enter into an orbit here, which we will do. We've got about 1 minute left on our engine burn here. We're still about 110 kilometers up. So we've got about another 30 kilometers of pad here. We're moving pretty quickly, but we won't be once this burn is over. So that's looking great. We've got about 45 seconds worth of burn left here. And then we're going to be ditching this tank and going on our heat shield here. So that all looks great. In theory. We've got about 13 more kilometers until we hit the atmosphere. Did we just move into orbital mode? We just moved into orbital mode. Beautiful. So we can see our periapsis is about 40 kilometers. I'm A-okay with that. As long as we're in orbit and our periapsis is in the atmosphere, that means we're coming back in. Now, I have no idea how long this episode is going to be at this point, so that's going to be exciting, for sure. But we've slowed down dramatically, 2,700 meters per second. I love it. And we're about to run out of fuel here. I just want to be locked on retrograde, and we are out of fuel. So we're going to ditch our engine there. I don't know if this Communitron is going to survive. We should be in surface velocity. Are we out of electric charge? No. Why are we not rotating correctly? Oh, right. I turned the reaction wheel authority off. I mean, that gives us a little bit of extra drag, I suppose. Some of these side parts may burn off on the way in. But there we go. That wheel authority does actually help a lot. So we're moving quite quickly here, but we will slow down. Like, we're still quite high up, right? And we're bleeding off some speed here. We might have a few parts burn off, but we should be relatively safe. We've got plenty of ablation here. And we're only moving at 2,600 meters per second, right? I believe that would have been either the antenna or the magnetometer. Both of which are fine. And we're starting to slow down pretty dramatically at this point. Actually, that might have been one of the strut connectors. Maybe. Dunhat is enjoying the light show. He's definitely getting quite a light show, there's no doubt about that. And we can see that our orbital speed is still above orbital velocity, but it is dropping rather quickly at this point. We can see our apoapsis is coming down nicely. We're now on a collision trajectory. And we're looking at coming down... Oh, that's our engine right there. We're like flying in parallel. That's actually pretty funny. I like it. Absolutely wonderful there. We're slowing down faster than the engine is, so I'm a little surprised it survived this long, to be honest. I thought the engine would have exploded by now. What was it that we lost? Was it our communications array? I can't... Okay, this is very, very bright. I can't really see in here. Let's get out of that. Cool. 1,800 meters per second right now. We've slowed down dramatically. We're, of course, not coming back from this, which is exactly what we wanted. It's a fairly energetic re-entry, but it's all good. It should be completely fine here. It wouldn't have been fine if I hadn't have remembered that I turned off the reaction wheel authority. That would have been a big, big problem. But we're almost down below a kilometer per second here. We're 20 kilometers up right now. We're going to be splashing down. This is all looking magnificent. Wonderful. Well, we should probably do our drogue shoot separately here. So this guy is the drogue. There we go. Our single drogue shoot. Only mildly awkward. Our electric charge is absolutely fine. No problem there. We've got plenty of ablator. Let's send out our main shoot at this point. Cool. And from here, we just warp down to the surface. Now, I have no idea how long this episode is at this point. I usually rely on the OBS recording length for that. So this might be a little bit of a long one, but I'm assuming after we recover this, that this episode should be over. I think. I hope? I wish. So we're going to deploy our drogue chute there. Cool. And it was not, in fact, the Communitron that burned off. Was it the magnetometer? Yes, it was the magnetometer. Okay. Well, that's not the end of the world. So we're heading on down here. We're 600 meters up. And yeah, that was a really textbook re-entry. I like it. We bled off enough speed from our radial retrograde burn to get captured there, and on down we go. Nice aerobraking. Absolutely wonderful. It did produce a lot of heat, of course. But we're going to come on down at about 7 meters per second here. A little on the speedy side, but it's a splashdown, so it's all good. We could grab a gravity scan, I suppose, and we should just recover this vessel. I'm assuming we're over time at this point, but I don't, strictly speaking, know that. So I'm going to say that we're going to put a cut in here, and next episode we're going to get to some viewer contracts. But for now, we're done with this one. Actually, we need to check what our exploration contract is going to be next and decide when we want to do that. So there is that as well. We should do that right now as soon as we get back in. Yeah, 1,500 science from that. That's not bad. And Dunhat's level 4. I love it. So we can hop into the mission control here. It's another Moho one, a landing. Haven't we already done this? Okay, sure. I guess we'll go to a Moho landing eventually, but for right now, we're not going to do that. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, let's get to some viewer contracts. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Shadowwolf, Mlohan80, Rogue Corvid, Kentogan, Andy McGar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.